what is today? Today is Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. Here we got a very special event tonight. Really happy to be here. Good to see everybody. And I guess, Lloyd, if you want to go ahead and get our meeting started, our event, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you, John. Glad everybody's here tonight. And I've got a few announcements before we get started. I've talked about it in the past that we're planning on our board of directors has been planning on getting back together live and in person for our September meeting, which would be on the 21st of September. We're trying to stick with the same third Tuesday. And we signed a contract now with the Moolah Shriners here in St. Louis. We've got the Oasis room at their facility on Fifi Road. So I'm really looking forward to that. Our first meeting coming up in a month after next. Got one more Zoom only meeting. We're going to try to keep our Zoom meeting, because we've got a lot of people, as John was just saying, not from this necessarily from the St. Louis area. We're going to try to keep it hybrid and still have it on Zoom. But folks here in St. Louis are welcome to show up, or if they're not feeling comfortable yet, they can still stay home and see us on Zoom. So, but you'll miss out on our Ted Drew's frozen custard. We're going to have to celebrate our first meeting back in person, and we're going to have Ted Drew's, our famous Ted Drew's frozen custard here. If Jennifer probably doesn't know about that, but unless she's been to St. Louis. Anyway, that's I'm looking forward to it. And I thank Dan Hammond and Jim Heiser on our board of directors for helping out on that search, visiting the facilities. Dan did all the research, and we visited some facilities to make our selection. And I think you're gonna be pleased with what we got. A really nice room there, plenty of space to spread out, network, and meet. So I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be on the 21st of September. You'll be hearing more in the future on our website and on our newsletter coming out your way in August and September. But anyway, as a retired aerospace engineer, I was really excited to see this morning, if you watched on TV, watching live Jeff Bezos and the Blue Origin take off and go into space. That was really pretty exciting. I was, since watching the early things of a space program, been around, and I actually worked on some of the early spacecraft here, working at McDonnell Douglas and Boeing in St. Louis. But that was not the highlight of my day. The highlight of my day is the event that we're going to participate in right now, and to hear live, have Jennifer Hammond here live, and I've been looking forward to this more than seeing Jeff Bezos go into space today. So, John, I'm going to leave it to you to do your formal introduction of our grand speaker for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Lloyd. Our guest speaker tonight is a global superstar. She believes that everyone can get what they want in real estate by their own choice, by their mindset, the yay, happy attitude mindset. In many ways, technology has leveled the playing field in real estate investing, but it's also kind of polluted our investment strategies with information that's not really always relevant to what we want for ourselves and our families. By promoting practical investment strategies and solutions, she has helped countless investors like you and me for decades. Hosting the SiriusXM real estate radio program for 10 plus years, bringing in world-class experts in all areas of investing, such as Linda de Marlor, Merrill Chandler, Jack Canfield, Dr. Betty, just naming only a few. She continues to educate and support others. She's the best-selling author of several books, including 100 plus resources for veterans, helping thousands of veterans and their families get the help they need. You may have seen her YouTube channel that's followed worldwide, or tuned in to her Jennifer J. Hammond podcast. Tonight, she'll be sharing 3 secrets to buying in a hot real estate market. I'm very excited and happy to introduce an amazing woman, a selfless resource, and a very good friend of mine. Please welcome Miss Jennifer Hammond.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you, John. That was so nice. That was a great introduction. I appreciate it so much. And I'm so excited because one of the things that I realized, like our market here, I'm in Washington, D.C. So I'm licensed as a real estate agent as well with TTR Sotheby's International Real Estate, but I'm an investor. And that's really what I like to do most, but I'm also an educator. just like John, I love to educate. I'm thrilled if I can empower you, but also inspire you to, make good decisions around real estate, but particularly utilize a lot of the fundamentals and the basics. So one thing I've seen this, and it's funny because for myself, I'm not necessarily a football addict, but I will say one of my favorite quotes comes from a football coach where he talks about the fundamentals and how important it is for us to go back to those basics. And as our market has gotten crazier and crazier in the DC market, we've had 17 offers on a property and 21 offers on a property. And, as the listing agent, you see that they have to make graphs because it gets to be so complicated. And so how do you stand out in the crowd? And as a buyer, as an investor, how do you stand out in the crowd? So one of the things that I say is, like in football, when coach, now his name just went out of my head, but the coach, he used to say, he'd grab a football and he says, "This is a football," when he would start teaching. And that was one of the basic things, is we have to start with those basics so that we remember and we go back, because sometimes we just rush through and we're like, we just want the deal, I just want the deal. And we miss a lot of the basics. So some of this stuff I'm sure but I'm still going to call them secrets, because if you're not utilizing them, then they're kind of hidden in the back of your mind, which so often we overlook. And we don't realize stuff. And of course, I love stories, and I want to invite you to ask questions. And if you have stories, you can share stories. Let's go through. So the first thing, let me see if I can get my thing to go. One of the goals that we should always have is that win-win negotiation. So just imagine if all of your transactions were win-win and everybody from both sides really wanted that. And one of the secrets, I actually put it on the smallest part on here, is the speed of solutions. The faster you can be creative and come up with it. I know John Lee well, in the fact that he's so good at it. We were just talking about splitting up lots and how important it is to find a solution. And usually it's about who is the most creative for whatever is happening there. That speed is so, so important. Okay. So number one, I promised 3 secrets. So the first secret that I really so often is overlooked when you're a buyer is the seller's viewpoint. So for a moment, imagine yourself in the seller's, in their shoes. What is it like for your seller? And part of that is you might not know. And so you might be working through a real estate agent, then you can just ask the agent. But one of the secrets is ask. And it's funny because you probably have seen before, I'm going to show you my book, The Aladdin Factor. This is Jack Canfield. And I even brought a prop tonight. Look, it's my little Aladdin's lamp. You want to rub the Aladdin's lamp and then be able to have your real estate transactions be anything you want them to be. Well, part of that is you need to start asking, and you need to ask over and over and over. Okay, I'm going to go on a little side street. One of the things, Jack Canfield, if you know him probably for Chicken Soup for the Soul, he did the book, The Success Principles. And this is one of my favorite ones, The Aladdin Factor. And part of the reason is because so often we forget to ask. And he has this, and I'm going to share a Jack Canfield story. He was sharing this story about running into Oprah Winfrey. He got to be on the Oprah Winfrey show, I think when all the Chicken Soup for the Soul came out, and then the movie The Secret came out. And so, but they live like within a mile of each other. And he was like, oh, I really want to get to know Oprah. And then he kept seeing her places. And then sure enough, he saw her for lunch one time, and he asked for her cell phone number. And she said, oh, sure, Jack. And she writes it down and gives it to him. And then the next time she saw him, she said, I have a bone to pick with you, Jack. And he was like, what do you mean? And she said, I gave you my phone number and you never called. And you said you wanted to have me over for dinner. And he was like, well, I do. And then he realized that he wasn't even applying something that he teaches. And that's the fact to ask. And it was funny because Oprah, as the story goes, said, okay, so then how about Thursday night? And he was like, yes. Let me just call my wife and make sure that she's going to be home. And they did, and they have it, and he has all sorts of pictures of it. But again, it's so quick, it's so easy to forget about asking. And so when we put this into the context of a very busy market and all of these multiple offers, what do you ask? So I put some of these things up on the screen. Is the seller flexible on the price or maybe on the terms? Like, are they looking for the fastest settlement, but they would take a little bit less money? Or talk to them about their goals. Because if it's like, say, for instance, a landlord who's had the property for a long time and they're not really, just kind of tired. They're, not interested in it anymore. Or is it someone who now the seller's goal is a 1031? It's a tax. Their focus is on taxes. And something that I've done a few times with different transactions in the Washington, D.C. area is I have this amazing, and John's met her, Linda de Marlor. She's an incredible tax expert. She works with a lot of celebrities. She does everything from international taxes. She literally helps people who go back and forth and actually own property in other countries. And she's always happy to answer any tax questions. She's also willing to actually review tax. She's funny. She will actually grab her little red pen and she will circle things that, maybe another accountant has missed in your deductions. And especially as real estate investors, it's really important we get all of our deductions. But I've had her get in touch with sellers who were trying to figure out a way to sell their property, and they were really just so worried about the capital gains. And she's like, oh, let's just put it on a graph and let's figure it all out. And and she will just figure it all out. She has a huge team, and she has a few former IRS agents, which is very helpful in the fact that what the other side's thinking and what they're asking and what they're, what they would find, in any of the gray areas, so to speak. So you want to make sure that you're asking the questions and asking what is really motivating that seller to sell. By knowing those things, does the seller want to retire? Does the seller want to actually take that money and gift it to their children? The children don't want to manage because it's a multiple unit and they just don't want to be landlords. Or is it because there's all sorts of different ways that you can structure a deal if you know this? Sometimes the seller is just tired of managing, and the seller would consider owner financing if you just talk to them a little bit and find out, oh yeah, they don't need the money right away, but what they really want is they want to get rid of the headache. The headache is it's really just driving them crazy. So, and also one of the things we find in the Washington, D.C. area, it's very, very common that people are moving to a different state. Ironically, we call it affectionately the DMV, which is not the driver's license place. Of course, that's Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. And so people are constantly changing states. They could also decide to be retiring and going to Florida or Arizona or wherever they want to go. And so it may be that they want to change states. So things can change very much. But knowing the seller's viewpoint, and you won't know that unless you ask. So number 2 in these three secrets that I promised to go over tonight is another basic one, which I'm sure you've heard said in a bunch of different ways, but I'm going to share a few stories to try to take this back to basics. And that's creating a win-win offer and not a win-lose. And this is something that I've seen also, even if you have 17 offers, how do you still create where it's a win-win? Because even in this area, we see people who are first time as a real estate investor and they're getting in there, but they're really creating win-lose offers because they don't know how to create a win-win. And again, that goes back to what I was saying before about asking what are the needs and the wants. And so one of the principles that I have found over, I guess it's been 24 years now in real estate is that one of the secrets to success is to exchange in abundance. And John Lee's great at this. I love the fact that he always loves to, help people, and he does so much training. And it's so important because you think about it, how would you define abundance? Now, one of the things that I define abundance is kind of in the terms of a real estate transaction is paying it forward. You know, you want to exchange in abundance where you're paying it forward. Now, there's also what we would classify as kind of an equal exchange. You give and you get, and that's just everybody is getting almost the exact amount. And then, of course, there's a criminal exchange. And of course, that's you're getting more than what the other person is. And you never want to do that. And that's why I would classify that as kind of the win-lose. But people do that a lot of times in real estate transactions. So very important. So I wanted to think about, so first of all, when you're going through this and you want to create a win-win, so you want to pay it forward. You want to be able to make sure you're talking to the seller. Like I said in the first one, find out what the seller's needs are. You're going to have to ask questions. You're going to have to solve problems. You're going to have to be the solution creator. And also part of it is just finding out. So first of all, you're going to ask, what are the troubles, the worries, the problems? You know, is there any setbacks? It's funny because when you say setbacks, we also have another definition of setback, because of course on a property there is a setback of where you can build. So one of my other things, and I didn't make an entire slide for this, but I have a few online classes, and I love teaching. And one of the first things I always do in every class is I go over definitions of the terms, because if you don't know the definitions of what we're talking about, you won't understand. It's almost like talking to somebody in a different language, you know, especially if you have a different definition. So one thing I've learned, especially in the DC area, we have so many different languages. And so I've learned to make sure, so did you understand that term? And I also try to talk to other investors in my area that I work with and say, so when you say setback, are you talking about a problem with the deal, or are we talking about the lot setbacks that are allowed in that area? So we make sure that you guys are all on the same page with your definition. So that's just another little bonus thing I wanted to throw in, because we never want to forget about defining the words and making sure that we really understand them. So don't ever, that's a secret that when I learned it I never learned it when I was in school, my bachelor's or my master's degree, but boy, did I learn it in I want to call it the hard knocks of life. You have to make sure you're doing it. One of the things, like John was in mortgages for years ago, you think about an arm. I remember going, no, we're not talking about like an arm and a leg. We're talking about an adjustable rate mortgage. So just really make sure that you have gone through all of your words and that you really understand them. It's so easy not to. So number 3, I love also talking about looking to the future. And this is another place I love. And John, you probably have a great story here. One of the really important things is what kind of future do you want for this property? For you as the real estate investor, are you thinking about a 1031 tax with all the tax benefits of a 1031 exchange? Are you looking at the capital gains of it? Are you thinking about gifting it or putting it into a trust? What is the future of this property? And often when I train not only my clients as when I'm a licensed real estate agent, but also as an investor, if you don't look at your exit when you're first going in, all of a sudden you can end up with a short end of the stick. And part of that, there are so many, and I could have listed about 17 here really fast on all the different ways that you can change a property to make the exit out of it. Maybe, like, for instance, you start renting a property. I've had this happen before to me. I started renting a property and I was so excited because I had actually gotten in there. I renovated it. It was in a phenomenal area of Washington, D.C. And I was like, this is great. I'm going to keep this one forever. And then I rented it for probably about 5 or 6 years. And my tenant was an amazing tenant. He actually lived in Philadelphia and he only came to town like 3 days a week. So his work paid for it. But it was better than him getting a hotel. It was cheaper, ironically. And it was in such a great location. He loved it. And it was actually a condo. So on the top, there was a pool. He just loved this. And, I had a 24-hour front desk. He just thought it was so great. And so then one day he comes to me. He used to always love to bring me his rent in person. And he came to me and he said, so Jennifer, I hate to say it, but I either need you to sell me this property or I need to move out and buy something myself. And I was like, no, I don't want to lose you as a tenant. And, but it was a great exit strategy too. I made a lot of money on it, but also it was really important to actually have looked through all these different strategies to make sure I knew what I was going to be able to do with the money and what the tax consequences were and whatnot. So really looking at the future and seeing what the exit strategies are will give you an edge in this buyer's market. It's really, really important that you kind of go through those. So John, do you have a story you want to share?
Well, I think that's just a great point, Jennifer, the exit strategy. There's so many of us, I know when I was new, I just bought stuff because I wanted rental property, but then you're not thinking down the road and a lot of things change. Right now I am dealing with, as you know, my father, who's got kind of advanced dementia. I've spent my Tuesday I spent with him, and he's not getting better, but we still have some properties as a partnership. And that's something I never really thought about, is what to do down the road. Because originally when we started our partnership, we got an S corporation. Of course, we had a couple LLCs, and my wife, who passed away back in 2007, she was a part of. My mother passed away in 2014. Then my dad has some health issues now. That's something I never counted on. Okay, was what was going to happen with these properties. And right now I am dealing with this. And the tax 31, benefits really doesn't help me. Capital gains is what I'm dealing with, and I can't turn these over. I have to just deal with what it is. So instead of a particular story, my story is all of these at once that I have left. As you know, I've turned a lot of my rentals into sales over the years, and I like being the bank. That's made things easier for me, but that's something that's so important. You got to look at the future and see what you're going to do with the properties. And I never really dreamt of the deepness and what you really got to do. So that's, thank you for bringing that up, Jennifer, but I think that's so important for everybody to know that.
And thank you for saying that, because that also made me think about one of the other things that, if you have a lot of tax liability, one thing that I've had recommended several times by accountants is you might decide, like, if you end up with, you've got 5 properties, maybe you take one of them and you donate them to your favorite charity. And then you get all the tax write-offs from that. So look at all the different ways that you can actually exit a property, and exit it in a way that is beneficial on multiple levels. And it's so important to, again, I can't stress it enough, to think about that before you go into it, so that by the time you're actually exiting it, you have options. And you've also really done, I want to say, the mental gymnastics. One of the other things, as you know, John, I love to teach, is putting together your A team, and I call it your yay team, because I think everyone on your yay team should make you say yay every single day. And what that means is your real estate agent, your tax person, whoever your money people are, your insurance person. You have to go through and put together this team of experts, and all of them need to help you before you purchase something. You want to talk about the tax stuff. You want to talk about the exit strategies, how that's going to impact you with capital gains, or what can you do? But also, one of the big ones is charities. I mean, I know there's universities who have funds that are set up. There is your church. There's all sorts of different ones that you can do. We just had one recently. I was doing a big special for veterans, and one of the people I know, he said, I have a property in Baltimore, and I'd like to donate it. We paid it off. He had a renter in there for years. He had, let's say, good times and bad times with different renters. I mean, some of the stuff that he went through was amazing, but he finally had gotten to the point where he's like, I just don't want to be a landlord anymore, and I don't really need to make money on it, and I really like to donate it. So we ended up donating it for a veteran to live there, and that was really beautiful. So anything you want to do, kind of think through those strategies now, because, and another reason I wanted to bring this up is one of the deals I did a couple years ago, it was also a tricky one, because it was actually a church. They were selling a church, and as a real estate investor, it was like, oh my gosh, there are so many beautiful churches in the Washington, D.C. area that have been turned into these, I mean, just exquisite, and some of the schoolhouses as well, that have been turned into these historic, beautiful condos. but they have these incredible features, like stained glass windows and things that most people don't. But what was really important to the church, because they were the sellers, is we had to ask them. And, part of it is they wanted somebody who was willing, talk about ask, was willing to come in and talk to their whole board. So once you get your offer together, you get your you get your clipboard, you go, okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to bring in 15 copies for all of you. And then I'm going to present my offer and I'm going to take questions from the audience and let everybody ask me questions and we'll see. And it was really interesting because they really wanted to know, and a lot of sellers do, they want to know that someone's going to take care of their property, that their property is going to be looked after. And it reminds me of that Native American Indian. There's some great quotes that are very much about, so have you considered what 7 generations forward, what this land is going to be like? Did you think about it in that way? And, when you have a history of a building that's been there for a very long time, or even what we've seen a lot in Washington, D.C. as well, is that generations and generations, maybe, 4 or 5 generations of a family have lived in a house, and now all of the children have moved out all over the country and they're not living in the DC area. And so they've decided to sell the family home, but it's extremely emotional, and it's not a good time to come in as just the cold hard investor of, hey, so let's look at those numbers. So is this going to make me money or not? That's not okay. And you have to really consider that. And then another one that I wanted to share was not too long ago, I did one that was an estate sale, and I ended up going to court. And I ended up having to go through depositions and into the courtroom. The judge got to know me very well, which was hilarious, because he was like, I am so sorry you're in here again. And it was an interesting thing because at that situation, there was 2 siblings, it was 2 sisters, and they were fighting over the property again because it was so emotional and they just wanted to sell it so badly. But you have to understand what's happening there so that you can actually figure out what is going to be best and how can you have the exit strategies that you need to be able to be successful. Okay, so here's my bonus secret that, of course, John knew I was going to do. I can't help it, is I'm known for yay. And it was funny because when I started on almost 15 years ago, I started being a guest regularly on different radio shows and then onto SiriusXM. And then I had my own show on SiriusXM. And one of the things is I love teaching, but I love making sure that we think about, where's the silver lining? Where's the rainbow? How can we be very creative? So when I say yay, it's whatever your yay is. I think we all need to celebrate with a yay. And I put that in as like a bonus secret, in the fact that everything you do, whether you're asking questions or creating that win-win, you want to have that yay attitude, that yay happy attitude. And I think in this market, sometimes we also need to be sensitive to the fact that, again, is somebody going through an estate? So you don't want to be too happy if they're in the middle of, mourning, but you also want to look at that yay attitude. I also think of as the can-do attitude. You can do anything. And like I was saying before with your little Aladdin's lamp, to me, the yay is also that very special thing that you can give somebody, like sharing your smile is by keeping that yay creativity. So you're going to need to be able to be creative in this market because it's so busy, and it's really important. But also it's really important to think in solutions. So if you hear a problem, then start thinking about what are the different solutions, but doing it from that yay happy mindset is something that is so powerful. And for those, I know John's had it, when those people who call my voicemail, they'll hear my voicemail because people always tease me about it. And I have been criticized that I'm a little too happy for business, that I should be a lot more serious, but that still doesn't stop me. I still say, yay. And I can't tell you how many of my clients call me and that's the first thing they say is yay. And I think it's just important. I mean, not that we don't all go through hard times. I've gone through them myself. And I'll tell you, boy, in the Washington, D.C. area, it's been a pretty interesting time over the last year and a half for so many of us, but we just have to keep finding that yay attitude. So that is my bonus secret. And then my last one, I promise this is the last one, is celebrate your wins. And it was fun. One of my friends actually took this picture. And I absolutely think that so often we have those, those two little, like the angel that sits on one shoulder and then the devil that sits on the other shoulder. And the devil's always saying those negative things, that whatever that negative voice is that talks to you, and you forget to celebrate your wins. Make sure you take a minute. Just recently, I was going through some old boxes and I realized, wow, there are some amazing deals that I put together over the years and I've forgotten about them and all the different pieces that I put together, because it is like a puzzle. So just thinking about that as you go forward, I think is really important, but making sure you celebrate them and allow other people to know your wins, and not in a braggadocious kind of negative way, but in a way where you feel like you've really celebrated and you become acknowledged. Because if we don't acknowledge, like I remember in college at one point, they threatened to take our graduation commencement ceremony away. And we actually have, my university had a partnership with Kobe, Japan. And we had these students who were so upset about not being acknowledged for all their hard work. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to care. And then I realized, wow, that is something so powerful. Take a minute to celebrate your wins and make sure you really acknowledge the things that you've done right. And when you're learning a lesson and it's something you didn't do right, well, guess what? You celebrate, hey, I recognized I didn't do it right, and now I'm going to learn something new. So find a way to celebrate your wins. Oh, and this is one of my favorite little quotes. And even today, you're going to see the mug I'm holding. So I love Winnie the Pooh isms. So always remember, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and loved more than you know. It's so important to think about that, because when you go out and you're negotiating as a buyer in a really competitive market, think about the person on the other side. Even if there's a real estate agent involved, think about the other agent and make sure that you're looking at it from their viewpoint and making sure they also are feeling loved and appreciated, because it can be a little bit confusing and a little bit rough out there right now. So I wanted to make sure we end with that. Oh, and my radio show. So I have a podcast now, and of course the YouTube. If you go to JenniferHammondRadio.com, you can, we have all the episodes up there now. And also the links to the YouTube, and I have my courses are up there now. We just got everything, everything's up there. So JenniferHammondRadio.com. And so that's what I have for you tonight, John. And if you want to ask questions or just chat, you tell me.
Yeah, do anybody have any questions? That's wow, a lot of great information. The win and the yay, I'll tell you, that just stands out. And that's the biggest takeaway of all time, as far as I'm concerned. If you have that attitude and just go in every transaction with that, you're going to come out okay. And I mean, okay, meaning exponentially great is what I mean by that. So great shares. Does anybody have any questions for Jennifer? I love what'd you call the DMV?
DMV, yeah, it's not the driver's license plate. I know people, because it's funny when I talk to people who are around this area, when I interview them on the podcast or the YouTube, I was so funny because we'll start getting into, again, it's just like real estate agents or investors. We start getting into our jargon, and I catch myself. DMV is probably one of the biggest ones, because we're talking about Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland, but we just shorten it to DMV. And I do remember I did get in trouble one time in an airport because I actually live right over the line now. I live in Arlington, Virginia. It's right by where this new Amazon headquarters is going up. I mean, it's massive Amazon headquarters. And I was in the airport and the security, I don't know, I don't know, maybe I didn't look like my picture. I don't know why. They just started quizzing me and they said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "Washington, DC." And oh, there's like, "We'll have you go into this tiny little room over here." And I was like, "Oh." I'm like, "No, I live in Virginia. It's right next to it. It's the DMV. It's the DMV." And of course she had no sense of humor for me, but I didn't end up missing my flight. That's the good news.
That's great. And when is your, now Saturday mornings, you do have a couple of shows. And I know you have Clubhouse. If you know, so I don't know if everybody's familiar with Clubhouse. And what is the name of the show on Clubhouse that you
So
host?
we do it in the Real Estate Basics Club. So anybody who's in Clubhouse, you just go find Real Estate Basics, and you can become a member of the club. It's totally free. And then every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So that's 7 a.m. your time, just for 1 hour. And we've been doing, like, I had so we had the attorney last week. Oh yeah, from Texas. He was great. We've had John on. We have the tax person. In fact, I have the next 6 weeks booked. I have a mortgage person coming on. Oh, I have an expert. I've known her for over 20 years. Her name's Michelle Adams. She's an attorney who does short sales and foreclosures and just an expert in that. And she was giving us a lot of information about what's going to be coming around the corner in the next 6 months from the banks if we're short sales and foreclosures. A lot of interesting information. So she's August 28th. We've got David Randall. We've got a bunch of.
I'm right here.
There you go, David. You're coming. I think you're confirmed. So I don't know if we have a date yet. Oh yeah,
July 30th. Yeah, July 31st.
Yay! So yeah. So we do that Saturday mornings, and then I also record podcasts. We do all the recordings on Wednesdays, and then we just keep uploading them and just, looking for the topics that most people are emailing about and get the information out.
And your YouTube channel, what is that called? Because I know you have so much. The library and the vault you have there is just huge with information. What is that called, Jennifer?
It's Jennifer J Hammond Podcast. Okay. Jennifer J Hammond Podcast.
Yeah. Okay. You got the J in there.
That's put the J in there. Yeah. And that's partly because there are so many Jennifer Hammonds. So if you see the one in the bikini, that's not me. She's like Miss Universe. That's not me. And then there's a sports newscaster out of Detroit, and she's nicknamed, she's Jennifer Hammond, but she's nicknamed the Hammer. That's not me. That's why we started putting the J in the middle. Jennifer J Hammond.
That's great. There's so much good information. I know I was there the other night. Of course, me being who I am, I was up at 1:30 in the morning, and I went ahead, tuned in, and I all of a sudden I caught myself. It's like, I got to go to bed, because you have so your guest was so, I mean, you can go down a subject and it's so detailed. And I mean, it's just, like Linda, the tax lady, she is, oh my gosh, she's got more information. In fact, we're going to have her come and talk to our group coming up here.
Good.
We haven't confirmed a date, but we're having her come in soon. I'll tell you what, she knows more about taxes than probably, I don't know, everybody else put together, it seems like. And she's up on all the new stuff. And I know she does, she helps you, Jennifer, with a lot of your shows. I've gotten so much information. And there's so many others. You had Merrill Chandler, you have just
the credit, $1 million worth of business lines of credit. Woo!
Yeah,
that was fun.
The credit. Then you had Anderson, he's
coming back on. Will Anderson. He does estates and trusts, and specifically estate planning. And he says, even though his first name is Will, he's like, don't get a will.
Yeah, that's very knowledgeable. But every one you have on there is just a superstar in their own arena. And I just it's just so nice connecting with you, with all the top people in the field. And of course, that is your yay team, your yay attitude, happy attitude, which you bring, and you bring the people with it. And that's one reason, we all love you so much, because of what you do and you do for us.
Yay!
You're there to help, the win-win.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate
Well,
it.
it's a pleasure to be here. I don't know if there's any questions. I'm happy to ask questions. Otherwise, you guys can go to whatever your next part of your meeting is.
Okay. Well, anybody got anything they want to say to Jennifer? This is a rare opportunity, and this is a
Yeah.
great opportunity right now.
Yeah, you don't have to call into a radio show. You can talk to her right here on our Zoom call.
I've got a question.
Yes.
It's David Randolph.
David.
Hi, Jennifer. Yeah, I
Hi.
am really looking forward to being on your show July 31st. That's going to be a lot of fun with it. But my question is on the win-win. So as you know, I do short sales, and so I'm talking with homeowners, families that are in trouble, and a lot of times it's really hard to tell. I mean, if they have a foreclosure, there sometimes, I guess my question is, you don't always know what the win-win situation is in every real estate deal. How do you go about kind of finding that out? I mean, for me on a foreclosure, I want to stop that, but then, the homeowner may or may not even want to stay in the house, or they may want to leave. How do you kind of go about finding out what the win-win is for the other side?
So that's where I say that, like I was saying about Jack Canfield's book, the Aladdin factor, it's ask, ask, ask. And part of it is one of the tricks that I have found is that it is really about sometimes asking permission to ask. When you're talking to somebody who's really in a sensitive situation like that, like for instance, when I've negotiated on those kind of deals and someone is really in a situation where, and even estate sale, someone who's really having a hard time in life and they're not sure what to do next. And one of the things is to ask permission. Would it be okay if we talk about finances? Ask permission to ask that question. And would it be okay to talk a little bit about the future and what your goals would be? And if you ask permission to have that conversation, especially different generations, like my grandmother, unfortunately, is gone now. She passed away, but I remember like money was, you don't have that conversation. You don't talk about money. And no matter if, if there was a tragedy about money, she just wouldn't talk about it. It would never, ever be a topic. So one of the ways that I learned is always to ask permission first. And then to ask, like with your situation, it's so funny too, because you will love Michelle Adams, the attorney. I work with her, especially through 06, 07, 08, when we were having just this incredible amount of short sales and foreclosures that were just, nobody knew what to do with them. And we found some amazing nonprofits that could help. We found credit repair people who could help them. So finding out, someday, do you want to be able to buy another house? Like you ask them a question, is there someday down the road you want blah? Would you like to get some money out of this house? Just finding out what they have, because they might not even know what their choices are. And again, I still believe that one of the best things to do is to ask permission. Would it be okay to discuss some ideas I have for how this could work? Would that be something you would be interested in discussing? And then you might also, one of the other things about that I find that's really important is to make sure you let them tell you their side of the story, their viewpoint. I mean, sometimes I know so many stories, and I can't tell you how many times I've been one of the first people somebody calls that when they're having a divorce. I just unfortunately had somebody who, they were two single people. I met them, and then it was so fun. I sold them each a place, and then they decided to sell both of those and buy a place together. Then he got a brain tumor, and we were like, oh no. And as he's going through, he survives the brain tumor. I got to attend their wedding, and then they survived the pandemic, and they have two children, but the marriage did not survive. And he called me and he said, you're the first person, we haven't told anybody yet. And so we just talked about it, because one of the first things they want to do is kind of talk about how did they get into that place. And then I like with him, even though I've known him for over 20 years, I said, so can we talk about the money? Because now I need to know some details that he probably doesn't want to make public about his divorce settlement and what he's negotiating and what he's thinking. And is she staying in the property? Are you guys selling the property and both of you are going to buy something else? So going into those subjects in a gingerly way, but one of the best ways is to ask permission. Can we talk about this, or would it be okay if we talked about your finances now? and what your plans are. Are you planning to keep the job you have now? Are you thinking about changing it? You know, even like if they have family, are your children, are you staying in this general area as a short sale? Are you going to stay in this general area? Do you need help with moving? Do you need help with, and just, you know, ask, can I talk to you a little bit about the transition? Is there any things that would really be beneficial to you? You know, and I hate to say it, as simple as just mowing someone's lawn can completely change the relationship you have with them. If you're finding out, well, you know, I don't even have anybody to take care of the lawn, and I'm getting fines from the city or the county. And so finding out, but asking permission when you're going into sensitive ones is one of my I'd say secrets.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great point. Mhm.
Any other questions?
Gina was wanting to know what day and time your podcast is.
So, you know, we record them on Wednesdays, but they're always out there. So as soon as we publish them, you can go to iTunes, you can go to Google Play Store, whatever. I'm also on iHeartRadio. I've been approved now. I'm on all, I mean, I think I'm on 21 different platforms. In fact, they're just starting to upload the video version of it up to Hulu. So you're going to be able to watch it on your TV very soon, but also on the YouTube channel. You can watch it up there as well. The live show is the Saturday morning show. And that's the one we do on YouTube Live. And we also stream the audio version of that to Clubhouse. So if you hop into the Clubhouse room, you can listen to the audio. If you want to do the video version, you can come to YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Okay, that was Gina. You know, it looks like, let's see, Srath wants to know, can you share your contact information? Looks like he wants to buy a house in Maryland. So
I'm going to give you my email. This is my work email. So there really are 6 letters, TTRSIR. So this is my work email. It's the easiest one to, I should say it's the most reliable. I do have a Gmail as well, but sometimes magically they disappear in the Gmail. So J Hammond, and I'll put the Jennifer Hammond radio.com. That's where all the podcasts, they live there, but they also, you can just download them on your phone. You know, you can, if you have an iPhone, you can click on podcasts. If you have Spotify, you can get it on Spotify. If you have iHeartRadio, any of those.
I've actually listened to your YouTube channel on my phone a few times.
Oh yeah,
So
there you
just
go.
go right there, and I had my headphones on when I was walking and put on a couple of them. So yeah, easy to find, well worth it. Worth every second.
We're really blessed. And we have, you know, because I had so many guests over the years, I feel like I just keep collecting these amazing experts, you know, which is awesome. Just like Will says, don't get a Will, you know, you should have him come speak. Will would love to come speak.
Yes, we've been trying to connect, and yeah, that's in the plans.
Good.
Absolutely.
He's phenomenal. He says a will is your ticket into probate court, and you don't want to go to probate court. You don't want to do that to your loved ones. So make sure you have a whole estate with the trust. And, you know, anyway, because in fact, we just recorded, I think it's the 7, I'm not the lawyer. So it's like the 7 key things you need to have in your estate plan. And they're all pretty simple. So anyway, you're going to learn all about that, John.
I can't wait. That's great, Jennifer. Yeah, thank you so much for introducing him too. I mean, that was just it's phenomenal. Very nice.
Yeah, when I found him, I was like, wait a minute, we need to spread that. And you know, like he said, a lot of other lawyers don't necessarily like him in the fact that he tells the truth about how you can really learn this stuff and you can apply it without having to break the bank and without just racking up a whole bunch of legal hours.
Yeah, he definitely has a different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And the right way, I should say.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Anybody have any other questions for Jennifer right now before it's getting late for her? And I tell you, we really appreciate you being here tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Of course, anytime, John. You know, I'm always here for you, and I just adore you. I adore you so much, and I love all the things that you do, and you're so giving. It's my pleasure.
Well, you are, and that's why we're all here together, because of you. So thank you so much.
Yay!
And
Okay,
yay,
I'm gonna
keep saying yay.
yeah, keep saying yay.
Yes.
I was gonna say if I everybody's on hiding behind their cameras. But wherever you are, say yay, and I'm going to head off out and call it a night.
Thank you so much.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay.
Yay. Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, well, I guess that'll call it a night here unless you got something else, John. Just want to remind everybody about we're still getting together whenever Kathy Davis is available at 11 o'clock on Fridays. Getting a legal update on the court system and doing a little haves and wants or networking afterwards. And then we'll be back here on August the 17th. August the 17th is our next major event here. In the September 21st. September 21st, we'll be back in person live, and hopefully we'll be still on Zoom too. We're not try to be hybrid, but getting back together. So
just one more thing on our Friday. I've been working on it. You know, we did our haves and wants, and I've been working on our buysellhere.club, and I think I just about have that ready. So anybody that's going to have a property they want to sell or something they want to buy, they'll be able to list that. It won't cost anything, but I should have some more details on Friday about that. It was a lot more to put together than I thought. I thought we'd just slap up a website, but if you really want to advertise and have it interactive, it's a lot more to it. So, but I should have a lot more information on Friday about that. But it's not .com, but it's a buysellhere.club is what the website is going to be.
okay.
buysellhere.club. So we're going to kind of put that together, and I've got some other people I'm bringing in too, that some investors from around the country and in different parts of the country. And most of these deals are just not listed anywhere. It's just the kind people just do the deals and they're done quickly. So you're welcome to bring your properties in here too to sell to investors around. So I know St. Louis is a very attractive area for a lot of investors around. So keep that in mind if you want to start tuning in and just kind of mentioning what you got, or if you're looking for contractors, that's something else we've been kind of looking on. I know because a lot of us, we have a tough time getting contractors these days, or even anybody to do work. I know I'm having a little more difficulty than I was even just a couple months ago. So that's something we want to bring more people together and keep networking. Right after Kathy on, Kathy Davis and the lawyers on Fridays, we're gonna keep networking for right now. So.
Yeah, we do swap a lot of tips on contractors too. I'm going to be asking some questions about. I'm looking to renovate a bathroom.
Okay.
Here shortly, and I'm having trouble getting you folks to return my call. Even
that's
they're telling me we'll come out and take a look at it, and they tell me a date sometime in August. And I said, well, I was hoping to have it done by August.
Yeah.
And they're not even going to. You don't have time to come look at my job until August. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's a lot of things we can we share on Fridays, and I'm glad John's been working on this buy sell here for some time. So I'm glad to hear some details of that.
Yeah. We're trying to make it simple, so it should be up and running pretty much by Friday is what our plan is.
Yeah, and I think real estate in St. Louis is getting even hotter with the wildfires out west and the buildings in Florida going underwater. Everybody's looking for some high dry ground with a dependable water source.
Yes.
And I think we're right here at the confluence of the two major river systems in North America. So.
Absolutely.
We definitely have an advantage to that.
All right. Does anybody else have anything tonight? If not, I guess we can just go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay. Thanks everybody for coming in tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
Goodbye.